Hello and welcome to another trivia quiz. This is trivia quiz number 5. If you're a native speaker, then of course I hope you enjoy listening to the trivia and playing along with me. However, most of the content on my channel is targeted towards English learners. So if you're one of those people who is practicing your English, I hope you can practice your English by playing along with me, and maybe you'll pick up a few new words along the way. Don't forget to check out the other videos on my channel because they're a great way to increase your vocabulary. As I've done previously, I'm going to read you 10 trivia questions about different topics. I'll give you 4 different options to choose from and a short time in which to make your choice. I'll put a timer on the screen so you can see how long you've got. So let's crack on with question number 1. Which animal has the most teeth? Is it A, a crocodile, B, a slug, C, a shark, or D, a giant armadillo? Which of those 4 animals do you think has the most teeth? Well, in fact, I can tell you the correct answer is in fact B, the slug. These animals, like slugs and snails, are called gastropod mollusks. And in fact, they need so many teeth, which are technically known as denticles, because of their unique style of eating. Their teeth are arranged on a tongue, which is called a radula, and instead of chewing their food like we do, they file it down into a pulp. Crocodiles have between 60 to 80 teeth, and sharks, which continually shed and replace their teeth throughout their life, can get through around 50,000. The giant armadillo, on the other hand, has up to 100 teeth, and it has the most teeth of any land mammal. They use those teeth to feast upon ants and termites. So moving on to the next question. Question number 2. Stanley Kubrick's film The Shining is based on a novel by which famous author? Do you think it's A, Stephen King, B, Edgar Allan Poe, C, H.P. Lovecraft, or finally D, Ray Bradbury? Which of those authors do you think wrote the book upon which the film The Shining was based? In fact, the answer is A, Stephen King. The Shining is a psychological horror film directed by Stanley Kubrick, was released in 1980 and is based on the 1977 novel of the same name by Stephen King. Kubrick's adaptation of King's novel is renowned for its atmospheric tension and unsettling imagery, and also its iconic performance, particularly by Jack Nicholson as the main character Jack Torrance. In fact, Stephen King was not overly pleased with Kubrick's interpretation of his novel. He was not a fan of the film, but in my opinion, it's one of the best horror films you'll ever see. An amazing film. If you haven't seen it, definitely worth checking out, along with Kubrick's other films, of course. So moving on to question number 3. Which day of the week is named after the Norse god of war? Is it A, Sunday, B, Monday, C, Thursday, or perhaps D, Tuesday? Which of those days of the week do you think was named after the Norse god of war? Well, in fact, I can tell you the correct answer is D, Tuesday. Its etymological origin comes from an Old English word which is derived from the Old Norse. Tyr is the Norse god of war, known for his bravery and sacrifices. In English, the days of the week have their origins in both Norse mythology and celestial bodies. For example, Sunday is named after the sun and Monday after the moon. The rest of the days of the week are derived from gods. Tuesday, as we've seen, the god of war. Wednesday was named after the god Odin or Woden. Thursday, the Norse god Thor. Friday the Norse goddess Frigg, and Saturday was the Roman god Saturn. The Norse names for these days have been adapted into English through the influence of Old English, which was heavily influenced by Old Norse due to the Viking invasions and settlement in the northeast of England during the Middle Ages. Not only the days of the week, there are in fact many other words in English that are derived from Old Norse. So let's move on to question number 4. In which phenomenon do Earth's axial tilt and its orbit around the Sun play a crucial role? Is it A. solar flares, B. lunar phases, C. seasonal weather, or D. the aurora borealis? Which of those phenomenon do you think are principally caused by the tilt of the Earth and its orbit? Well, I can tell you the correct answer is in fact C, seasonal weather. Earth experiences the seasons due to its axial tilt of approximately 23.5 degrees. As it orbits the Sun, different parts of the planet receive varying amounts of sunlight throughout the year, resulting in the 4 distinct seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So the nearer you are to the equator, the less variation there is. So there's not so much difference between the seasons. Whereas if you go further north, the tilt of the Earth exaggerates the amount of sunlight that is hitting the Earth as it orbits around the Sun, and that creates the seasons that we are familiar with here. Question number 5. Who is credited with inventing the printing press in Europe in the 15th century? Was it A. Johannes Gutenberg, B. Leonardo da Vinci, C. Isaac Newton, or D. Michelangelo? Which of those 4 people do you think invented the printing press in Europe? Well, in fact, the correct answer is A. Johannes Gutenberg. He was a German blacksmith who is credited with inventing the printing press around about the year 1440 in Mainz, Germany. His invention revolutionized the way information was disseminated and played a crucial role in the spread of the Renaissance and other revolutions. The main difference between his invention and the previous Chinese invention lies in the technology and the materials used. Gutenberg's printing press utilized movable type which was made from metal, and this allowed for a more efficient and flexible printing process. In contrast, the earlier Chinese invention initially relied on wood block carving and later used a kind of movable type made from ceramic materials such as clay. Moving on to question number 6. What historical figure is credited with popularizing high heel shoes? Is it A. Queen Victoria, B. Marie Antoinette, C. Leonardo da Vinci, or D. King Louis XIV? Which of those historical figures do you think helped to popularize high heel shoes? Well, in fact, I can tell you the correct answer is D. King Louis XIV of France. High-heeled shoes have a fascinating history, in fact. Originally, they were worn by Persian soldiers to help secure their feet in stirrups while riding horses. They were particularly helpful to the archers as it allowed them to stand up while riding the horse. The wearing of heels became associated with wealth because of its traditional connection with the military and horseback riding, which was of course an expensive and time-consuming activity. The trend then made its way into Europe, where it became associated with the upper class and royalty. In the 16th century, both men and women wore high heels, which symbolized prestige and power. Then later, by the 18th century, high heels fell out of favor among men and became predominantly a fashion choice for women, as they are today. Question number 7 now. In which modern African country can you find the famous city of Timbuktu? Is it A. Egypt, B. Mali, C. Nigeria, or perhaps you think it's D. Sudan? Which of those countries is home to the city of Timbuktu? Do you know? Well, the correct answer is in fact B. Mali. Timbuktu was a major center of trade and learning during the Mali Empire in the 14th century. It played a crucial role in the trans-Saharan trade routes, particularly in salt and gold. The city was renowned for its university, which attracted scholars from across the Muslim world, making it a significant hub of Islamic education and culture. The city's libraries housed numerous manuscripts on subjects ranging from science and medicine to literature and theology. And today, Timbuktu is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, preserving its historical and cultural significance. Question number 8. What was the name of the ancient Egyptian goddess associated with cats? Was it A. Bastet, B. Sekhmet, C. Hathor, or D. Nut? Which of those ancient Egyptian gods or goddesses do you think was associated with cats? Well, the correct answer was in fact A. Bastet, which is also sometimes spelled as Bast. She was the ancient Egyptian goddess of home, fertility, and childbirth, as well as cats. She was often depicted with the head of a lioness or a domestic cat, and was believed to protect households from evil spirits and disease. Cats were so highly regarded in ancient Egypt that the penalty for killing one, even accidentally, was often death. Bastet's cult was one of the most popular in ancient Egyptian religion, and her worship persisted for centuries. Question number 9 now. On the moon, which object falls fastest when dropped? Do you think it's A. a golf ball, B. a hammer, C. a bowling ball, or D. none of those? Which of those objects do you think would fall fastest when dropped on the moon? Well, in fact, the correct answer is D. None of them. They all fall at the same rate. On the moon, of course, there is no atmosphere to provide air resistance, so all objects, no matter how heavy, will fall at the same rate. This phenomenon was famously demonstrated by astronaut David Scott during the Apollo 15 mission in 1971. He performed an experiment in which he dropped a feather and a hammer simultaneously from the same height. Both objects fell and hit the lunar surface at the exact same time, which proved Galileo's hypothesis that objects in a vacuum would fall at the same rate. On Earth, of course, if you dropped objects through the atmosphere, the air resistance would slow their acceleration down until they reach a point which is commonly known as terminal velocity. So that's a point at which the acceleration due to gravity, which is about 9.8 meters per second, is counteracted by the air resistance and the acceleration slows down. Each object will have a different terminal velocity according to its air resistance. So obviously a feather has a greater air resistance than a rock, therefore it falls slower through the atmosphere. Moving on to the final question now, question number 10. Who is credited with the discovery of DNA? Is it A. Gregor Mendel, B. Friedrich Miescher, C. Rosalind Franklin, or D. Francis Crick? Which of those four individuals do you think is credited with the discovery of the existence of DNA? Well, the correct answer is in fact B. Friedrich Miescher. He was a Swiss physician and biologist who made groundbreaking discoveries in the field of molecular biology. In 1869, he isolated a new compound from the nuclei of white blood cells, which he called nuclein. This substance was later identified as deoxyribonucleic acid, commonly known as DNA. His discovery laid the groundwork for future research. However, it wasn't until decades later, in the mid-20th century, that the structure of DNA was identified by James Watson and Francis Crick in collaboration with Rosalind Franklin. And this led, of course, to a deeper understanding of its role in hereditary and biological processes. So there we have it. We've reached the end of our trivia quiz number 5. I hope you've enjoyed it and perhaps learnt something. And until next time, I'll say goodbye.